So it is true, there's a new bill out for Social Security and for Medicare. Now, the one thing that you need to keep in mind regarding these new bills that keep coming out is that they are going to keep introducing new legislation because right now both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are trying to figure out where there's going to be some middle ground. That's what they're trying to do. So at this time, we're going to see both parties putting out different legislation. The good news here is that this one is now more of a Democratic bill. This really aligns with what President Biden wants. Now, the reason why I say this is good news is because now we have a bill coming from somebody else, coming from a senator that is telling us, okay, this is what they want. And once we get more senators and more representatives putting out some legislation for Social Security and Medicare, this is going to mean we are getting closer to an agreement. That is why this is such a big deal. Now, I do also want to say there's still that piece of legislation from Senator Bernie Sanders that would provide an additional $200 per month or $2,400 per year. That's still there, still on the table, but it's highly unlikely to get passed just because Republicans do not want to see additional assistance going out to people on Social Security, simply because at this time we need to ensure Social Security remains solvent, and actually giving out an additional $2,400 per year to every single Social Security recipient would actually just cause the insolvency date to move up even faster. So that's why Republicans say that is not an option at this time. But here is something that we do know. There's a new bill out. It's called the Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act. This is by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Now, I want to read this to you, okay? This is right from his website. So let's just go and read through it, and we can discuss it as we move through it. It says Medicare and Social Security are twin pillars of economic fairness and retirement security, providing lifelines to seniors, their dependents, the disabled, and the infirm. In 2021, Social Security alone lifted 26.3 million Americans out of poverty, and nearly 40% of seniors rely on the program for the majority of their income. Benefits they have earned that let them retire with dignity. Medicare protects its over 60 million beneficiaries, 1 in 5 whom have less than $15,000 in savings from potentially catastrophic healthcare costs. Despite the bedrock importance of these programs, they are both at risk of being unable to fully pay out benefits within the next 15 years without new revenue. The Hospital Insurance Trust Fund and Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund are expected to become insolvent in 2028 and 2033, respectively. This bill will ensure the long-term solvency of the Medicare and Social Security trust funds by reversing inequities in the tax system so that high earners contribute a fairer share. Now, I want to point out this date, that both Medicare and Social Security would become insolvent within the next 15 years. That is actually within the next 9 years, 10 years. That's where we're at, not 15. Okay, so that's a little bit off. But here's what this bill would actually do, okay? This is what this bill, the Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act, this is what this is asking for. And again, I want to bring this up. I want to read through this together. And the reason for this is because this aligns with what President Biden wants. The figures that we're seeing here is exactly what President Biden is proposing. Okay? So, let's talk about it. First thing, preserve Medicare and Social Security while safeguarding benefits. Says this legislation would significantly extend Social Security solvency and would extend Medicare solvency by an estimated 20 years. Now, this is actually very important to note, is this 20-year time frame, okay? Because under Senator Bernie Sanders, he wants to extend Social Security for another 75 years. We've heard from other lawmakers, there's actually a bipartisan bill out there, or bipartisan legislation, where they want to ensure both Social Security and Medicare remain solvent for the next 100 plus years. So again, these numbers vary, and one of the reasons why they vary is because the figures that we are seeing. Okay, but here's something I just want to point out. According to to multiple experts, it's not really many. I think I've read it through probably 5 to 10 different articles, different people saying the same thing, where extending the solvency for Social Security and Medicare for an additional 75 years or 100 years in a time like this is highly unlikely. But what is more likely is that we see they agree to extend, they agree to reform Social Security in a small way. There's going to be little changes. These little changes are going to ensure that Social Security and Medicare remain solvent, but not for another 50, 75 years, likely for another 15, 20, 25, maybe 30 years. That's what they're expecting. And so this right here kind of aligns with that. Because again, it says 20 years. But it would actually require taxpayers with over $400,000 in income to contribute a fair share to Social Security. Well, how are they going to do that? Well, here's what we know. Most taxpayers pay Social Security taxes on all of their income. But because a Social Security tax cap of $160,200 in wages, wealthy taxpayers don't have to pay tax on wages above that cap or on any of their investment income. Those making $1 million annually earned enough by February 28th to not have to pay any Social Security taxes for the rest of the year. By applying the Social Security tax to wage, self-employment, and investment income above $400,000 per year, the bill would ensure that no matter the source of their income, high-income taxpayers would pay the same tax rate on their incomes exceeding that threshold. Okay, a couple big things to note. One, you don't pay anything on your investment income, and the other one is the $160,200. So what they want to do is go to $160,200 and then over $400. So there's going to be a gap. Okay, but that is in line with what President Biden wants, because President Biden has said nobody making less than $400,000 per year would see a penny more in taxes. Well, this is one of the things that you have to do then. You have to create a gap between the 160 and the 400,000. And that pretty much is what multiple lawmakers are looking at doing at this time. The other one, require taxpayers with incomes above $400,000 to contribute more to Medicare. Taxpayers with more than $250,000 in earned and investment income currently have to pay an additional 3.8% tax on income above that amount. This legislation would increase the rate for income above $400,000 by 1.2%. So again, you make more money, you pay a little bit more in taxes. That's what they're looking at. The last one, they want to close the loophole in the law that favors high earners. It says right now the owners of pass-through businesses like hedge funds, private equity firms, and certain oil and gas companies can avoid Medicare taxes and the net investment income tax by disguising earned income as distributed business profits. The bill would ensure that such taxpayers making more than $400,000 would contribute to Medicare and Social Security on their pass-through business income. Okay, that is what is in this bill. Okay, that is what we're looking at. Again, this is called the Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act. Now, what do I think of this? I know I get this question quite a bit, is, can this pass? Well, at this point, this bill right here, the Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act, will not pass. Okay? This could pass through the Senate. This would not pass through the House of Representatives. Okay? But that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of putting out these bills is to ensure that if the House of Representatives has a bill, which would likely be a Republican bill, if they have that bill, they go and vote for it, it passes. Okay, now it gets kicked over to the Senate. Well, the Senate would then need something to go and pass. They're not going to pass the same bill that Republicans pass because their agenda, their visions are not in line. But again, this is why I bring this up. We need to see both houses, okay? We need to see the House of Representatives and the Senate. They both need to pass something. It doesn't have to be the same thing. They just have to pass something. Because if they pass something, that shows the American people, yes, they're both serious. But here's the big one. They now have something that they can use to negotiate. Right now, that there's nothing passed, there's no bills, right? There's nothing as far as, okay, this just passed through the House and now gets sent over to the Senate. We don't have that. We don't have that yet. But this is a good sign that we are now seeing more lawmakers put together a proposal, put together a bill that we can actually vote on. All right? So that's the key here. Can we vote on this? Yes. This bill right here is votable. You can vote on this. And the reason why is because from a Republican standpoint, they're going to say this is a no. We're not gonna vote for this. This is going to be an absolute no. But only extending solvency for an additional 20 years, that's something they can vote on. That's something that we haven't seen in a bill yet. Everybody wants to extend it 75, 100 years. This one right here is only going to go for about 20 years. That right there is more likely. So, as we get more information as to what is going on regarding Social Security and Medicare, I promise I will bring you all the latest news and updates. But the big news out today is that, yes, more lawmakers are favoring the idea of extending solvency for an additional 20 to maybe 30 years. We don't have to go 50, we don't have to go 75, we don't even have to go 100, because things will change in 100 years. Let's extend it an additional 20 to 30 years, and we can live to fight another day. That's what people are saying. So, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that's a good idea? Think that's a bad idea? Or do you think we're never going to get anything done for Social Security and Medicare? Let me know down in the comment section below. But again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.